Alrighty, hey, it's King Philidor. We're back with the concept of talking about checks and captures again. I know this is the first time you've seen the board with all the pieces set up. And we're looking at having a good time. I picked this particular game that we're going to look at. I played it online. Again, I'm a fan of online 3 to 7 day games. And what it does is, if I pick an opening, then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take and pick my opening. I'm allowed to look at any reference material that's currently existing in print or anything that's online I can find to help me try to make the moves. And then I get to take and try to apply my principles to take and see what exactly I'm going to get. Now, what's cool about this game is if you want to understand how a queen can be in check, and if your opponent doesn't understand how a queen can be in check, this is the fun way to do it. So, we're not going to try to take and spend forever on it. I tend to try to keep these videos under 15 minutes. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, I'll tell you already that I like to play the London. And I also like to play the Philidor in reverse. Of course, that's where I get my name from, is King Philidor, is because I am what I characterize as a worldwide authority on the Philidor and the Philidor in reverse. So if you have questions about the Philidor, by all means, don't hesitate to take and send me those either through subscribing and asking questions, or you can go to the Richmond Chess Initiative website and ask me questions. So d4, knight to f6, bishop to f4. Most of you may not know the history of the London, but this system was actually supposed to be designed to take and be the quote-unquote killer of the King's Indian defense. And that's what I was talking about in the earlier video when we said that we were going to be taking and dealing with a popular opening. Now, we're going to a little bit of a variant here, but essentially this is going to turn into a King's Indian once they take and do the fianchetto. So, yeah, G3. Everybody knows what that looks like. Some of you may, or some of you may not. Now here, as much as I want to play H5, I'm also looking for creating a retreat in case the knight comes up here and it chases me. Because I want to keep this bishop down this diagonal, and having the bishop in front of the pawn chain creates a whole bunch of different opportunities as opposed to having the bishop behind the pawn chain. So, but when my opponent plays this, that tends to be a little bit weakening if you've done that before you even castle. Okay, so you're telling me a whole lot about what's going on, and again, that's time consuming. So I'm playing c4. It may look like I'm trying to take and do this, but actually, if you study Spassky-Bukic and you look at that game, this c4 to c5 move can actually cause all kinds of havoc, and the same is true when the colors are reversed. So, our opponent here is going to go ahead and do what they need to do after we do e3. Knight to b to d7, knight to f3, g6, h4, h5, c4, and then we're going to have bishop g7. Then after bishop g7, we're going to play knight to c3. And after knight to c3 comes c6. Always trying to keep the knight from being able to just pop in here and force an exchange and give us a forward pawn. And then we're going to play bishop d3. And then our opponent's going to play the wonderful move queen to c7. Now, one of the things I ought to point out here, just because I'm going to sneak something in for you. If you have a fianchetto, when the pawn's back here, the bishop belongs here. When the pawn comes up here, the bishop belongs here. no disagreement by anybody on any theoretical standard. If the pawn is still back here, then the bishop belongs here so that you can push. Okay? If the pawn comes up here, then the bishop belongs here, because that's the way you get it pinned, by taking and trying to get some pressure down the diagonal. Alright, so black has decided to go the hard way. And we're going to go ahead and go castles. And they're going to go ahead and go castles. How's that look to you so far? Now, we're going to play c5. Now this quote-unquote starts the drama. So they play knight to e8. And now we play queen to b3. And what this means is that we're looking at, since the bishop is here and the queen's controlling this diagonal. Right now I'm already threatening bishop takes pawn and then bishop takes pawn to take and strip the king naked. So they play e5 and we play c takes a d6. Now after c takes a d6, queen takes a d6. Remember, we've talked about every check and every capture every time, regardless of what you think, whether it makes sense or not, whether they can take you or not, to see where everybody can or cannot go. Well, the queen has come up to have some type of exposure. So we played knight to e4. Now, I can just tell you point blank that the best move would have been queen to b8. I've got 3 to 7 days, I can't remember, and my opponent's got 3 to 7 days. They're moving the pieces all around, and for some reason, my opponent didn't choose queen to b8, which is a move I would have chose, because after queen to b8, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. You know, everything's pretty much equal. The rook's still protecting this pawn, but we're still going to lose a pawn on the end of that combination. But it gets kind of messy with the knight being able to come to c5 and all that without this rook being the c1. You asked for more complicated. Now you're getting it. All right. But my opponent played queen to e7. And now starts the chain of events that show exactly how a queen can be in check and be chased around like there's no tomorrow. So after queen to e7, we play bishop to g5. Queen to e6. After queen to e6, bishop to c4, check. And that's what you got to start doing in your head, man. That's what you got to start doing in your head. That was bishop to g5, check. Queen went to e6, bishop to e6, bishop to c4, check. Check, 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 and more check is what it's all about. Okay? So after bishop to c4, check, then we're looking at, we're going to move on. And the queen plays to g4. Oh my goodness. After queen to g4, bishop to e7, check. Why is it check? Because it's every check and every capture every time, regardless of what you think, whether it makes sense or not, whether they can take you or not, to see where everybody can or cannot go. For kings and queens and rooks, that's check. So the bishop's actually going to get this chance to sit on that square for 7 moves before it finally takes the rook. We get queen takes at e4. After queen takes at e4, knight to g5, check. Don't tell your opponents this. Don't tell your friends this. Beat them for a while and let them ask you what it is that you're doing that's making it so that you're so savage and evil and explosive and destructive to them. and then take and let them come watch the King Philidor videos. But of course, if you want to keep beating them, I wouldn't tell them about the videos at all. Alright? So, we got bishop d7, queen to e4, knight to g5, queen to f5. Now, the queen can't really play queen to h4, but that's something we're supposed to come back to after the end. Remember, we do the moves in bold first, and then we come back to the variations. So, queen to f5. Woof! e4. After e4, queen g4, bishop to f7, Chekaruski. There's no place, you can't take it. I mean, if you take, then we're going to play queen takes, and after you move over, then we're going to play queen takes knight. Does everybody see that? That's a white, black, white, black. That's a white, black, white, black, white. White, black, white, black, white. Yeah, now you're starting to understand what's going on. White, black, white, black, white. Black, white, black, white, black. If you can't see 2.5 moves ahead, you need to keep looking at the checks and captures until you can. So the king's going to have to take and play over to h8. And after the king plays to h8, the queen's trapped with bishop to e6. There isn't any place to take it. If the queen plays queen to h4, you just play knight to f7. Check, and when the rook takes, you just play bishop takes queen. So, and there's just nothing much else to talk about after that. So, now we're looking at bishop d6. Knight to c5 is the only breakout move they got. And after knight to c5, we got d takes to c5. Then we got bishop takes to e6. And then guess what we got after that? Check! I love this stuff. The checks and captures that everybody can't see, that are readily available to you once you become an RCI student and decide to come on board with every check and every capture every time, regardless of what you think, whether it makes sense or not, whether they can take you or not for kings and queens and rooks. Man, you know, you're going to be saying check all day long, which is a lot more fun than just making regular moves. So now we got to go here. And after 7 moves, we finally go ahead and take the bishop. It doesn't matter if they decide to go ahead and play rook to c7. If they go ahead and play rook to c7, we're going to play bishop takes check anyway. And, you know, it was that disappointment that, you know, black can't just take it and survive. There's nothing he can do, really. Everything's all beat up, destroyed everywhere else. We got rook, rook, knight, bishop, queen, and all we got is somebody's going down. We're getting ready to go down a piece. No matter what, we're getting ready to go down a piece. So, this is a clear demonstration of exactly how the idea of chasing a queen works all the way around, and being able to use check. It wasn't a king chase where we kept saying check, 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 check. It was a queen chase and a rook chase where we kept saying check, 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 check. And these checks are what take and change the dynamic of the game. So what we're going to be doing in the following lesson is you need a reorientation. And what I mean by a reorientation is we're going to need a reorientation about exactly what the value and mobility and everything is of the pieces, so that you stop thinking about everything the old way you used to think about it. So the next lesson that we're going to talk about is going to be understanding the value of the pieces, understanding the mobility of the pieces. That's probably going to wind up taking 2 sessions. So you're going to get mobility of the pieces 1, and mobility of the pieces 1A. So don't get mad at me. It just takes a while, and these videos can only be so long. But hey, please subscribe. Please visit the richmondchessinitiative.wordpress.com and leave a comment. Go to Being a Chess Parent, and that is the way to get started the best on starting to make your move towards understanding all this. and becoming one of those people who just beats the mother, father, grandfather, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, cousin, and all the other people in your family during the holidays. All right, cool. Nobody want to play anymore after we get done.